All right, so according to Italian Prime Minister Mario Monti, we have now a week to save the Eurozone. That came out in the headlines. He said that to a group of European newspaper reporters. This is ahead of the EU summit planned next week. So is this a threat? A warning? It's hard to tell because it's become a bit of a boy who cried wolf refrain. Take a look at this. Last November, there were 10 days to save the euro. Oh, we don't have those headlines, but we got a bunch of them together, okay? In November, there were 10 days to save the euro or see it disintegrate. In December of last year, DSK, Dominique Strauss-Kahn, said there were 3 weeks left. At one point in May, there were only 48 hours to save the euro, according to one newspaper. But I guess then George Soros bought us a little time because early June, remember, he said we now are just a few weeks into a 3-month deadline. So when and how does the euro either persist or implode exactly? Well, let's talk to Gerald Celente, who specializes in telling it like it is. He's founder of Trends Research Institute, publisher of the Trends Journal, and he joins us on Capital Account now. And it is so great to see you. You're the perfect person to talk to on a Friday to round the week out. Thanks for being on the show, Gerald.
Oh, it's always a pleasure being on with you. You have one of the greatest business shows on TV.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Well, you're one of the best guests to have on a business show on TV. So I'm dying to know, I just went over some headlines over the last year where people, officials, newspapers, commentators have said there is a week to save the euro. There is 10 days to save the euro. There is 3 months. And to be fair, we're still in the middle of George Soros' 3-month prediction, so I can't dock him there yet because who knows how it's going to turn out. But the question to you, Gerald, is cut through the noise. Is the euro doomed to implode, or is this salvageable, or will we just see Europe muddling along the way it has been?
Well, it's a bigger issue than that. It's not the euro. And when you mention Monti saying what he said today or yesterday, let's remember who this is. This is 3-card Monti. So that's about as good as his word. It's not the euro. It's the whole banking system. And the banking system is collapsing worldwide. And so the euro is just a part of it. Will the euro stay together? You know, it's iffy. There's no telling what they may pull out. But let's understand, the G20 just was going to have this grand meeting, just got back from Mexico, and all these brilliant leaders were going to put their minds together and come up with a solution. And they don't have any answers. And the reason they don't have any answers is there's no solving it. So what did they do? Well, you saw yesterday the Federal Reserve went back into that Operation Twist, and then read today's headline. Central banks ease credit as European leaders meet. The step Friday, just as European leaders in Rome are preparing to seek agreement on ways to pull Europe out of its crippling debt crisis, gives banks more possibility to get ready cash. Let's put that in layman's language. It gives the banks the right to rate junk that they have and all this garbage that's weighing them down as creditworthy. All they're going to continue to do is try to keep pumping money into the system to keep it going. It's as simple as that. There is no way out. Are they going to come up with a euro bond where they're going to put all the bonds into one package so that these rates don't keep skyrocketing? Doubtful. Right. But they're going to come up with something. That's why they always stall it. How long will it last? It's a guess.
Totally. And these programs to turn trash to cash, we've seen, and it does seem that they're just getting ever more creative and ever willing to break whatever rules are on the books in order to institute them. So bigger picture, though, but beyond the banks, one trend that it seems that we see, and there were a lot of quips to this effect going into the Germany and Greece soccer game this afternoon. It's this sense that Germany is calling the shots and taking control and in control in a way that it hasn't been since World War II. And at the end of the day, Greece is at its mercy, and it's about the kleptocrats getting their piece of the pie. And I'm curious how you think that's going to play out, and if Germany can have the kind of credibility to be this boss of the Eurozone, or if you think that it will be this kind of economic prison, as Nigel Farage has called the EU.
Well, again, you know, let's listen to what Germany's complaining about. A euro bond is against the treaties, and it's against their constitution. The bailouts were against the treaties. So, you know, on that angle, Germany's 100% right. And to put all these, you know, worthless bonds into one package and make everybody pay for it, you know, if I was German, after them spending, what, how many trillions to bring East Germany back in, you know, I'd have reservations too. But again, Lauren, it's a much bigger issue. Let's look what's going on in China. Their economy is contracting, just as Germany's Composite Purchasing Managers Index hit a 3-year low. The same thing in China just this week. Then you look at India. Oh, India, that was booming like crazy. Well, their economy just grew a little over 5%, down from 9% a year ago. Look at Brazil. Now the government is saying, their central bank, that this is going to be the first time since '09 that the Brazilian economy declines. Put it all together. Europe is China's biggest importer of product. U.S. #2, we're in a slump. If the United States and Europe don't buy, China, India, Indonesia, Vietnam, they don't make. If they're not making, Brazil, Australia, Chile, Bolivia, all the natural resource countries, they don't export. This is a global crisis. Let's remember, we're talking about Greece today. What's Greece, 2% of the Eurozone? And now tomorrow it's going to be Spain. Next week it's going to be Italy. A couple of weeks later, the USA. Go back to last August. Remember they downgraded the debt here?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure did. And we're coming up to another debt ceiling debate. So you're pointing to this cascading effect. If it's not Greece, it's just going to be someone bigger tomorrow to steal the headlines with this same problem. On top of that, we have this global slowdown that you're talking about. Plenty of bad news to be worried about. I mean, in terms of the Eurozone, Spain on Monday will request formally its bailout. Now there's discussion again of directly bailing out the banks so that it doesn't go through Spain, so that Spanish borrowing costs don't become unsustainable. So it's just one thing after another, kicking the can down the road, to use a total cliche, but it does summarize what's happening. So what is someone to do to protect themselves from an investment standpoint? I know you're still bullish on gold.
Yeah, I'm you know, again, I don't give investment advice. I keep buying gold. A friend of mine has a great strategy. He buys gold every month, gold and silver. He buys a little every month. It, you know, equals out. Why would anybody get into the dollar? What's so great about the dollar? As I look at it, as I say, you know, getting out of the euro and into the dollar is like jumping out of the Lusitania to take safe boardage on the Titanic. No, this thing is going down. It's a global crisis. Look at the numbers. Again, you go through this week's data, whether it's housing, whether it's employment, you name the numbers, they're terrible. There's no way out, and they gave it their best shot. You know the numbers. What did they dump in the Fed? The numbers are like, what, 20-something trillion since 2008? And the best they've been able to do is to make it not a lot worse. There's no way out, as I keep saying. We're talking about the banking crisis. We're talking about Euro. We're talking about, you know, Composite Purchasing Managers Index. Let's talk about what's going on with the people. Remember them? You know, the 25% in Spain that don't have any work, the 50% unemployment rate among the youth, the 23% unemployment rate in Greece, the over 10% unemployment rate in Italy. You're going to see social unrest at levels we have never seen in our lifetimes. And to that note, something like an exit of Greece or something like that could bring the kind of social unrest that we haven't seen yet. And I know you think we could see social unrest in the U.S. too. One quick note on gold, because you mentioned last August with the debt ceiling debate and the downgrade. Also last August, we saw gold hitting some record numbers, trading at some record prices. I'm curious if you think, because we've seen gold come back down to the level that it was trading at about this time last year. Do you think we'll see it rise as we did last summer into fall and maybe even hit that $2,000 announced mark? It could very well. Here's why. I don't believe this is a gold bubble that's burst. I began buying gold in 1978, before you were born. And
barely.
It was a different world back then. China was behind the bamboo curtain. Russia was, everything east of Berlin was behind the Iron Curtain. There was no global trade. It was only the United States basically buying gold. Now you have the whole world buying gold. You had bank runs in Europe. Who in their right mind would be holding on to papers? I see it. So this is not a bubble. It's very different. You have an entire world that's worried about the finances of what's going on. So I believe, oh, by the way, the summer is a very important time as a trend forecaster because people are in a vacation state of mind and they miss the nuances of what's going on. And I remember one summer when gold skyrocketed back in the late 70s. We could have that kind of scenario again because this thing is unfolding, and let's face it, they don't have the answers. They don't know what to do because if they did, they would have done it a long time ago. They can't fix it. And I believe gold prices are going to continue to escalate. And I'm in the camp that says 2,000 and above.
All right. Well, when we come back, I'm going to leave our audience with that prediction. We do want to talk a little bit about the people that are trying to be elected to pretend, maybe in your view, to fix the problems that you say can't be fixed. I want to talk politics when we get back. So we'll have more with Gerald Celente, founder of Trends Research Institute and publisher of the Trends Journal, in just a minute. And still ahead, you responded. Now I'll answer. Check out if your comment caught my eye this week in viewer feedback. You won't want to miss it. But first, your closing market numbers.
What drives the world?
The fear-mongering used by politicians.
Who makes decisions?
Considerable breakthrough has already been made.
Who can you trust?
No one who is imbued with a global missionary zeal.
Where are we heading?
State-controlled capitalism is called fascism.
When nobody dares to ask, we do. RT, question more.
You know how sometimes you see a story and it seems so whole and complete, you think you understand it, and then you glimpse something else. You hear or see some other part of it and realize everything you thought you knew, you don't know? I'm Tom Hartman. Welcome to The Big Picture.
Welcome to the Alona Show, where you'll get the real headlines with none of the mercy. The problem with the mainstream media today is that they're completely disconnected from the viewers and from what actually matters to those viewers. And so that's why young people just don't watch TV anymore. If they want news, they go online and read it. But we're trying to take those stories that people actually care about and transfer them back to TV.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about Europe. Let's talk about responses to Europe from U.S. presidential candidates or their proxies. Mitt Romney's economic advisor recently wrote an op-ed in a German newspaper applauding Germany's austerity measures, advising Germany not to bail out Greece. And on the other side, Larry Summers, who worked for the Obama administration, was one of Obama's advisors in his presidency early on, in response, or not exactly in response, but in similar timing, in the Washington Post, wrote his own op-ed proposing, of course, the opposite, a bailout and massive spending plan for Europe. So, is this, at the end of the day, just political election year strategy disguised as economic analysis and economic advice? And what does that do for the presidential hopefuls? We're going to talk about it. Also, while we're on them, we know that Mitt Romney is a little weird. We know that maybe Americans have a hard time relating to him. For evidence, just look at his Saturday Night Live version of his Sons. Let's watch that.
Well, we connect with the younger voter. Our average age is 36, while our median age is 35. And we like the same things as young people, such as sport, cinema, and do-up. See? We're just like you, America.
Whether or not they're just like you, America, you can decide. But there has been an argument that when it comes to candidates on either side of the aisle, they are just like each other, and that at the end of the day, they're both bought by corporate interests. But my question for our guest is, Mitt Romney has gotten a lot more Wall Street cash this time around. So would we have a different kind of presidency with Mitt Romney versus an Obama second term? So Gerald Celente is going to weigh in. He is a trends forecaster extraordinaire. And Gerald, let's talk politics, because this is more your forte than mine. So I want to know, to start off with these op-eds on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, you know, at the end of the day, is this just politics? Because if Europe tanks, that's bad for Obama, good for Romney. If Europe prevails, that is good for Obama, could be bad for Romney. Is that behind these op-eds?
Well, yeah, you know, the American people could care less about any presidential candidate blaming the problems at home on Europe. They're minute. It's not Europe. It's much bigger than that, as I said. And I love it every time. You know, why does anybody listen to Larry Summers? You look back at his track record when he was running, you know, the economic division when he was with the Obama administration, and virtually everything he said has not come to pass. All his policies have failed. But excuse me, every time I say Larry Summers, I have to put brilliant either before, during, or after you say his name, because after all, that's what the prostitutes call him, the brilliant Larry Summers. As for Romney talking about more austerity measures and telling the Germans this, brilliant, Mittens, great shot. Hey, wasn't it the austerity measures? No, not the high inflation. The austerity measures imposed upon the Germans following the high inflation that brought in Hitler. Brilliant strategy, and probably very apropos for Romney. So, no, this is just a lot of political jive talk. And for the record, I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in anybody's political gods, and to me, it's a two-headed one-party system. Whoever wins, we lose.
Okay, and I know that you're a political atheist, and you've said that many times before, that this is a two-headed, well, whatever you just said, much better than a two-headed monster with one body, or something to that effect. But along those lines, we have seen Mitt Romney get a lot more Wall Street cash this time around than we saw President Obama get last time. Obama got a lot of campaign cash from Wall Street in 2008 when he was campaigning. So my question to you, would we see a different president with regards to finance, depending on who's elected?
Not at all, because look what's happened under the Obama administration since the Panic of '08. You know, watered down Dodd-Frank. Nothing's really changed. You know, look at the deals that they gave the banks with fixing the, you know, that mortgage crisis. Oh, you remember robo-signers. You know, like a robot did it. Look at what, Lauren, tell me one head that rolled on Wall Street since the Obama administration's been in. All the Justice Department has been doing is going after people like Roger Clemens, you know. Have you seen John Corzine be brought up on charges after bringing down MF Global? Hey, couldn't be because he was a big bundler for Obama. No, it's just a little different. Again, it's all the same.
Yeah, I agree. Obama's been wimpy on Wall Street, but I guess what I'm asking is, would it be worse with Mitt Romney?
I don't think so. I think it'll be just as bad. You know, because you have Congress and they're all in it together, it's not going to change much. What could become much worse? How much worse could Romney make it than Obama in terms of helping out his Wall Street buddies? Is he going to give them more money? Yeah, just like Obama would if we have another financial crisis. You'll see the Fed dump more dough into it. So I don't think it will be much of a difference.
And you mentioned Congress. I have to ask you, because between the last time I spoke with you and now, we've seen Jamie Dimon on the Hill twice. And if you want to have any kind of evidence that would make you feel like no one has a political will to go after Wall Street, just watch politicians pretty much like line up to praise Jamie Dimon. So I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts there about if we're ever going to see any justice when you watch the kind of political theater we saw there.
No, the word justice is being misspelled. Every American that's had any minor infraction knows. It's J-U-S-T-U-S. just us. Oh, now they're even rolling out that guy, Lloyd, I'm doing God's worth blank fine. And I saw that Morning Joe guy suck up to him, saying how wonderful he was. Oh, yeah, they're just great. Love the bankers. Oh, yeah. And so, no, it's all one club. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like electing the president of the country club in 2012. Will we build swimming pools or will we expand the tennis courts?
I think that they will probably, judging the spending habits of Washington and Wall Street, want to do both. I appreciate you being on the show, Gerald, to level with everyone. Thanks again. That's Gerald Celente, founder of Trends Research Institute and publisher of the Trends Journal. Have a great weekend, Gerald.
You too. Thank you.